tuned it up.
Well, my wife got upset from the last video. She said that I didn't straighten up or do anything and that it made us look poor.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we kind of are,
Like, honey, you need to work harder. Need you to work harder.
So she, she's like, put up a tapestry or something. So
You're a good husband.
yeah.
I would have put the bathroom trash right here. You know what I mean? My wife told me that. Put the bathroom trash right there. So
Yeah, so you've been saving the story for me.
I have. I'm surprised that you never heard it because I used to do it in stand up in a much
Maybe I have.
a much more open-minded time. Because see, the thing about it is the story's got the word midget in it a lot because I don't have a problem with that word.
Well, of course not.
It's a medical term, I believe. Might not be.
It was at some point.
It was a medical term. Little person is not a medical term, but I will use I'll use the word little person when I'm talking about them now, which is only once in the story. The rest of the time, I will use the vernacular of that time, which was midget.
Which was midget.
Because the conversations I'll explain to you, everybody said midget.
Right, yeah. I mean, like we pointed out, it was, 2007 when that movie came out.
Yeah.
Where
This story takes place in 1990. No one gave a fuck about the word midget.
Right.
Yeah.
All the 90s.
Yeah, even then, back in the 80s before. Which
well, you go back far enough and they didn't care about
in folklore. Where they,
where their legend begins.
That's the thing, man, is I don't hate little people. I say little people. I don't hate little people, but it's just...
I love, yeah.
It makes me feel like Christmas to make fun of them. Which I feel probably... It's just Christmassy.
It's festive. So,
okay, so when I was in high school, I worked at Walmart. I pushed buggies out in the parking lot. Carts, buggies, carriages, whatever you call them, wherever you're in the South, we call them buggies. And I pushed buggies in the parking lot. Me and my friend Ben, we became good friends out in those parking lots.
yeah.
And Walmart hired these two little people, twin sisters.
Oh.
I don't think they were twins. They were the same height. They weren't twins.
Were they even sisters?
Yes, they were sisters.
Okay.
They were absolutely sisters. They were hoes too, dude. They were fucking all kind of dudes that worked overnight at Walmart. It was the overnight crew who was into it. Which just makes sense. You know what I mean? Your whole
everything's off. So, how does it...
So they worked there, the cashiers. Dude, they built them these little platforms that could roll up to the desk so they'd be at eye level when you're checking out. Yeah. Which Walmart probably got some money for hiring them.
Probably.
I don't know. A pot of gold, perhaps. I can't help it. I can't help it. I'm not a bad person. I just can't help it.
It's like a specific form of Tourette syndrome.
It really is.
Just midget joke.
I stopped evolving mentally in 7th grade. I've learned things since then, but my sense of humor just stayed right there. It's not my fault.
It's a condition.
Maybe it's autism. You have to be nice to me.
It's a condition.
Yeah,
right?
it's a condition. It's a condition.
So, how did you come to stalk these two women?
Oh, okay. I gotta go back and tell you a different story.
These little women.
I gotta go back to the 80s. Back to 1988.
Wow.
I was 6 years old. And you know in Pensacola, where Burgess Road and Plantation Road meet?
Yeah.
The psychedelic shack was right there?
Yeah.
And whenever you're pulling out a plantation and it dead ends at Burgess Road, there is an apartment complex back there. And there's a guard station that looks like the apartments, but it's tiny.
Yeah.
Well, in the 80s, that whole area was just flush with trees.
Yeah.
You couldn't see the apartment complex back there. All you could see was this little house that looked... you could tell that it was a guard station. That there was no guard at.
Right.
But I was a little kid, 6 years old, and we were pulling out of there, and I was like, Dad, what's that?
Yeah.
And my dad said, oh, that's a midget village. He said that it's a midget village. He said, and I was like, what? And he goes, all midgets live in midget villages. They live in tiny little houses like that. They have tiny little garage, tiny little kitchen, tiny little dishwasher full of tiny little dishes. That's a midget village, son. No, here's the deal, dude.
And you believed him.
I was 6 years old. That's my dad.
Yeah,
that's science. You know what I'm saying? That's science. Looking back on it, too, one time I had a turtle that I found, and I put him in like one of those plastic like planters, and just sat him by the door, and he was going to be my pet. And the next day I woke up and he was gone. Yeah. And my dad, and I was like, he's gone. And my dad was like, maybe he flew away. And I was like, flying turtles? And he was like, yeah, that's the thing. And I got in an argument at school defending that shit.
Well, you played Super Mario Brothers.
Flying turtle. Yeah. Clearly my dad was just like, you're not doing that to that poor turtle and let him go, you know. But told me flying turtles, and I got in an argument off that shit with someone saying turtles can fly, and he was like, no. And then I started telling this kid that there was flying snakes and this shit. I had quite an imagination.
Right.
But my dad told me midget villages, and that just instantly became science.
Right.
So fast forward 10 years to where I'm pushing buggies at Walmart. Me and Ben, like I said, I stopped developing comedically in 7th grade. So me and Ben just making midget jokes nonstop. We'd ask each other like shit like, what do you think they eat? That was, you know, acorns? I don't know, but the fun was endless with them until one day Ben asked me a question. And he was like, where do you think they live? And I very nonchalantly was like, well, probably in that midget village off of Burgess.
So you're 18 and you still...
No, motherfucker, 16.
So you're 16 and you still think there's a midget village.
My dad is a very compelling man. I'm serious. He'll have you believing in midget villages today. The man is a talker.
Okay.
Wish he'd have done more with that.
So
he was like, what? He was like, what are you, retarded? Because we said that back then,
back
too.
in the 90s.
A medical term. And I was like, no. And he was like, what do you mean a midget village? And I was like, well, Ben, all midgets live in midget villages. They live in tiny little houses, tiny little garage, tiny little kitchen, tiny little dishwasher full of tiny dishes. There's one on Burgess. Bet you $100 they live in the midget village off of Burgess. And he was like, you got yourself a deal. So I got $100 bet. So I was like, well, they usually get off when I get off of tomorrow night. After I get off of work, I'm going to follow them. Confirm that they live in the midget village off of Burgess.
Right.
Where the hell else are they going to live? Bring Ben back, show them their car. Collect $100.
What kind of car did they drive?
I don't remember. I kick myself for that every single day. And so the next night I got off a little early, went and hung out in my car, and they walked out together, frolicked, and got in their car, started pedaling. But instead, when they pulled out of the parking lot...
Was it a Mini Cooper? Isn't it?
No, they didn't have those then.
Oh, yeah, those are...
Not here, anyway. And instead of taking a left to go to Burgess, dude, they took a right. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well, shit. You know, maybe they're going to get something to eat or whatever.
it even occur to you maybe there's another midget village in town?
Here, let me finish.
Okay.
So we start driving, and they're starting to head up, way up by the paper mill.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, shit, they clearly are heading home, and they're not going to the midget village on Burgess. However, Ben said I was retarded for believing in midget villages, so at the very least, I'll follow them to their midget village, confirm where it is, bring Ben back, show him that they do in fact live in a midget village. We'll call it even.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we're driving, and I'm 16 years old. I'm like a half a car length behind them.
Yeah, you're not really being discreet.
No, dude. We didn't have like real cop shows then. It was like Matlock, and he wasn't tailing people, So I hadn't learned that yet. And I had an old car, a very old car, very loud car. So, dude, we're up on, and we had turned off 29 and hit a left going up to Atmore, and I'm thinking there's a midget village out there. There's all the Mennonites and shit. And then I started thinking maybe they're Mennonite midgets and live out there. They make their own bread and
Midgetites?
Mini-nites. But it makes sense, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't use power tools because they'll get away from you. It's all hammer and nails and breaking bread and making... I can just see them churning their own milk. You picture them in your mind right now.
Churning milk? What?
What is it? Butter.
Churning butter. So
you
follow them up.
So follow them, and then all of a sudden, just blue lights, dude.
Right.
Blue lights. I get pulled over, and they go off into the night. And this cop is pissed, dude. He's like, "What the hell do you think you're doing?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Nothing." And he was like, "These women called and said you were stalking them, following them, and you've been following them ever since you left work." And he goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, officer, as you know, all midgets live in midget villages. They live in tiny little houses. They have tiny little garages, tiny little kitchen, tiny little dishwasher, tiny little gym. Ben doesn't know about this. I'm making 100 easy bucks. And I don't really have a good ending for the story. He would call me retarded also. And he said, if I ever see you again, I'll put you in jail for the rest of your life or something like that. So I went home and...
Did you pay him $100?
No. I did not.
So he showed mercy on you for being retarded?
I don't know. I guess. I guess. I had some dirt on him, man. I had some dirt on him.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a true story.
I hope so. I don't see why you'd make that up.
Yeah, I mean, it was what it was.